Why do we have to study logarithms? Will they help us with stockbroking? Surely not. Why suddenly create the x and then force us to find it? And why do I have to prove that it's an isosceles triangle? I see clearly that it is. Duh! Then I received the note back saying, "What are you two talking about?" I just figured that another kid had intercepted it. So with my eyes still glued to my level 3692 of Candy Crush, I scrawled back, "Keep your nose out of my business," and then handed the paper over without looking. Ahem. But your business is taking place in my class. I slowly looked up and saw that it was my teacher. Oh, dang. Busted again. Looking over, I saw Brett with his big guilty face. Ugh, he should have been more careful. Okay, you. And you. Out. You're probably wondering how I'm such a pro at this pose. Well, it's because I've done it 1,000 times. And that serious woman over there is Mrs. Megan, my math teacher. I swear, she totally has it in for me. Okay, let me tell you the story. Once upon a time, there was a girl who, due to an unexpected accident with a trash can and an ill-placed skateboard, ended up arriving a teensy bit late for her exam. But the teacher refused to let her in, and also failed her. Grrr. Yeah, that girl was me, Lexi. Thus, from that moment forth, she became my arch enemy. So, during her boring lecture, I threw a paper plane at the board and said, "Miss, you've spelled arithmetic wrong. I suppose spelling is a bit hard for a numbers person like you." It's okay. Clearly my comment got to her, as during that same class, she picked on me to graph a function. Huh, easy peasy. So I created a masterpiece that made her eyes roll, and the whole class found it hilarious. And as expected, she gave me a lengthy lecture on my childish behavior, and even threatened to call my parents. Poof! Yeah, good luck with that. As unless it involved business, then my parents were practically impossible to reach. Besides, I was just having a laugh. Mrs. Megan needed to lighten up. So I secretly stuck a piece of paper saying "free hugs" on her back. I lurked behind a tree and watched as all these people surrounded her. She looked so bewildered as she tried to navigate past them while having no idea what was going on. The good old days. Suddenly, Brett patted my shoulder and told me 30 minutes had passed, and we needed to go back to class. My butt hadn't even touched my chair when I heard a patronizing voice say, "You shouldn't act like that." Ugh, that's Faye, the teacher's pet and a real pick-me girl. Every time the teacher asks a question, she wriggles her arm in the air and squeaks out, "Me! Me! Me!" Mrs. Megan only likes her because she always laughs at her boring jokes. Oh well, I may have no proof, but in my experience, Faye's definitely not as innocent as she looks. Don't say I'm jealous, 'cause I'm 100% not. You probably think I hate school, but it's still way better than my so-called home. Ugh. At least school could be amusing, while my home life consisted of mom and dad locked away in their office 24/7. I can't remember the last time either of them cooked dinner. So takeaway it is. So I'm texting Ben, my super sexy BF. He's been studying in France, and he's back today. I've missed him so much, but unfortunately, I couldn't pick him up from the airport because of, school. And tonight, he has a family party, but we're meeting up tomorrow. Yay! Let me see your face, sweetie. I miss you. You know what? Today, that teacher gave me detention again. Really? She messed with the wrong one, didn't she? Definitely. I will retaliate tomorrow. She'd better watch out. Okay, but don't end up in after-school detention, as I want to see you. My mom's also a teacher, but she's not that much. Oh, by the way, she's here. You want to say hello? Yeah, sure. Ben, it gets on my nerves whenever I think of that Before I had a chance to finish my words, a person popped up on the screen. Mrs. Megan! Lexi? OMG! We both gave each other stunned, open-mouthed stares. It looked like the screen had frozen. Literally! Then just when I didn't think it could get any worse, suddenly a familiar voice broke the silence. Oh, Ben has a girlfriend? Let me see her. Huh? That's Faye! Oh, my days, this is too much to process. My two enemies were in the same frame. Shocked, I ended the call. Right after, I received a text from Ben saying, "Don't worry, my mother may look super serious, but she's kind. And the girl is Faye, my neighbor. We've known each other since childhood, and she's cool." This was so crazy. Now I'd have to face them both every day, knowing that they're associated with my BF. Oh, the future is as dark as night. And yeah, this is the beginning of the series thusly entitled Living with My Future Mother-in-Law and My BF's Annoying Female Best Friend. And since then, things at school turned weird. For our class Halloween event, which had a Toy Story theme, Mrs. Megan was in charge of handing out the parts. Faye was Bo Peep, and she had this really cute outfit. While me, I was stuck as Mrs. Potato Head. My outfit was so lame, and one of my googly eyes kept on falling off. Ugh! It was so embarrassing, but I couldn't say anything. I couldn't mess with her anymore, as I still wanted to be with her son. Ugh. Worse still, math class became an endurance test. I was so sick of being compared to that goody two-shoes Faye. Lexi, if you spent more time studying and less time painting your nails, you'd be a top student like Faye. Poof! Faye caught on to what was going on and also started playing tricks on me. One time in class, when I was dozing and Mrs. Megan was correcting the homework, I overheard, "This symbol shows that A is not equal to B." Faye then turned around and whispered, "Just like you, you're not equal to me. And you don't deserve my Ben either." What? Ben is mine, not hers. I bared my teeth and was about to say something when that brat started pretending to cry, saying that I was picking on her. Out! Mrs. Megan came to us with burning eyes. We were walking out when in a sympathetic tone she added, "Faye, you stay." I returned to my meditating pose, but I couldn't shake off my anger. How unfair! Later, when it was lunchtime, Faye walked over to me with a cup of Coke, saying it was a peace offering, and that she was sorry for earlier. This was confusing, but whatever. I took it and was about to take a sip when Brett rushed over waving his arms about. "Lexi, stop!" I saw Faye put soy sauce in it. I was just a second away from yelling at her when Mrs. Megan appeared. I smiled smugly, thinking Faye would finally get into trouble. But to my surprise, Mrs. Megan took a sip of the drink and tried to keep a neutral face as she replied, "There's nothing wrong with it." Really? They went that far to cover up for each other? Whatever. I had a date with Ben tonight to prepare for anyway. That night as planned, I arrived at Ben's house with a somewhat wilting pot plant for Mrs. Megan. I was kinda excited to finally have a cooked meal. Only, when I walked into the kitchen, I couldn't smell anything cooking. Mrs. Megan appeared and rubbing her hand said, "Lexi, you don't mind cooking, do you? It's just been a long week of drawing diagrams. My hand kinda aches." Seeing the situation, Ben immediately came to help, but she reminded him that he'd agreed to fix a pipe or something. To be honest, I'd never touched a frying pan before. But I mean, how hard could it be? I'd make pancakes, though it's not really suitable for dinner, but I'd seen them on a 5-minute crafts and they were clearly a breeze to make. Only, it didn't go to plan. In situations like this, it's important not to panic. But, yeah, I panicked. I needed a plan B. Quick! In a rush, I threw away all the evidence of the failed pancakes and ordered food online. After all, thanks to my workaholic parents, this was my forte. I instructed the delivery person to come to the back door, so Ben and Mrs. Megan would be none the wiser. Expectedly, at the very first bite, Ben and my mother-in-law praised me profusely for my food, and Ben even joked that I should join the next season of Master Chef. Yo, I will rate this restaurant 5 stars for sure. Mrs. Megan suddenly dropped her spoon, so I quickly bent down to pick it up, only she leaned down and whispered sarcastically, "I order from Sydney's too. Their sauces are divine." Oh, busted! Then, halfway through the night, this man showed up and apologized for being late. Turns out he was Jim, Faye's father, but Faye wasn't coming over as she was out with friends. Happy days! I watched Mrs. Megan and him touch a tissue box at the same time by mistake, and then blushed? Huh? Oh, I get it. She liked him. Now it made sense why she was always sucking up to Faye. Have you thought about remarrying? I asked Jim innocently. To the waiting eyes of me, as well as Mrs. Megan, he hesitantly answered, I don't think Faye would like that. Mrs. Megan glumly stared down at the floor. Okay, so I actually felt kinda sorry for her. Besides, matchmaking has always been my hobby, so I decided to help her. I knew that Faye was at a party on Saturday night, so I decided this was the perfect opportunity to play Cupid. I told Mrs. Megan that Jim had something to tell her, so meet him at the Golden Reef restaurant at 7 p.m. Then I told Jim the same. I stood behind a column and watched them share their starter, and then give each other gooey-eyed glances. Then Jim reached out and took Mrs. Megan's hand. They were looking at each other passionately when Faye suddenly rushed in from nowhere and angrily slammed her bag on the table. So this is it? My teacher and my dad? For real?
Faye, why are you here?
Jim stuttered. No one can ever replace Mom! Then she turned to a dumbfounded-looking Mrs. Megan. Turns out you were only being nice to me to get my dad. You're fake. Stay away from us. Mrs. Megan covered her face with her hands, then quickly left. Geez, Faye was brutal. And however annoying Mrs. Megan was, she didn't deserve that. You! Faye shouted. Uh-oh, her gaze fixed on me. It figures you'd be behind this. Keep your big nose out of our family business and start caring about yours instead. Guess this is what lack of parental care does to a kid. I stared at her speechless. Those words should have driven me mad, but for some reason, I only felt sad and so guilty. I really just meant well. So, first thing at school the next day, I swallowed my pride and went to Mrs. Megan's classroom, where she looked lost in thought as she marked homework. I coughed to clear my throat, then said, Miss, I'm sorry. I honestly was trying to help, but now I realize I should have minded my own business. I'm also sorry for being a jerk in your class. She was silent at first, then replied, It's okay, as I've come to realize that you and I aren't so different. We both have complications in the way of finding love. Guess it's really not easy to get approval from your parents' family, huh? She smiled and gently stroked my hair before continuing. You're such a smart and kind girl, and I always knew you could do better in class, that I must have been too harsh on you. I'm sorry, too. I smiled back at her, and at that moment, I felt like all of our previous conflicts melted away. And I realized that I shouldn't neglect my studies. Instead, I should work hard to become the best version of myself. So, with a lot of hard work, I went from trailing at the bottom of the class to reaching the top spot, even overtaking Faye. Ha! Speaking of Faye, she was still ignoring both me and Mrs. Megan, and never put her hand up in class anymore. But then a rainbow flame experience in the chem lab changed things. Everyone ran out of there when the curtain caught on fire, except for a terrified Faye. Luckily, Mrs. Megan rushed inside to rescue her just in time, and covered her with a jacket as she led her to safety. After that, Faye realized that Mrs. Megan is a good person who cares about both her and Jim. So, through blurry eyes, Faye sobbed out, Thank you so much, and sorry, I was too childish. Please forgive me. A few months later. So, yeah, you see, my wing woman plan worked. And now I have a second family, a really big one. But you know what's the best thing? That is, I no longer have to order food online anymore, 'cause I will stick to here, and my mother-in-law will cook for me.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. I'm a 24-year-old guy who's married to my high school sweetheart Ariel. Even though we haven't had kids yet, Ariel stays at home and I go to work. Sounds blissful, right? Wrong. You see, my once cute and loving wife is now a total grumpy control freak. Don't get me wrong, I still love her very much, but, well, who am I kidding? I'm just the henpecked husband who never dares to oppose her. No longer am I a free man. Instead, she insisted I follow her rules, and I swear she makes most of them up as she goes along. No going out with friends. No overnight trips away, even if they're work-related. Dinner is not allowed outside unless I take her with me. No talking to work colleagues on social media. I'm not even allowed to fall asleep first, else she wakes me up by yelling at me. If I dare to break those rules, then I have to face the consequences, and trust me, they weren't worth thinking about. For instance, I once stayed a little late at work, so the next day she made me moldy sandwiches. I didn't notice until I'd taken a big bite out of it. Ugh, gross. Another time I visited my parents after work without her, so she turned my white shirts pink. I had to go to work resembling the Pink Panther. And every day I come home from work to her endless complaints. She could moan on about the most ridiculous things, such as the puddle outside of our house meant she couldn't go for a walk, as she didn't want to ruin her shoes. And she'd accidentally drunk normal coffee instead of decaf, and now she had a headache, and it went on and on. Also, she's a real stalker. Yep, it seems all she does all day is spy on our neighbors. Did you know that the neighbor to the right of us walks around his yard in his wife's pink fluffy dressing gown and slippers? And the neighbor opposite sings Christmas tunes to her dog. Ugh, who cares? But if I dare yawn or show any sort of disinterest, she yells at me. So I feigned interest by saying things like, "Oh, is that so? Oh, right. Please go on." The nagging didn't stop when I was at work either, as she constantly texted me telling me to come home early to fix the light bulb, faucet, or whatever else she'd managed to break. Geez, why were there so many broken things lately? Why was she deliberately ruining them so that I would rush home after work to fix them? No, that couldn't be possible, right? One time during work, she messaged me saying the washing machine was leaking everywhere and asked me to call a mechanic. I didn't understand why she couldn't call one herself, as I was at work. Anyway, I forgot to do it, so she called my work number and demanded I go home immediately. The problem was that my work colleague answered the phone. The poor lad actually had to hold the phone away from him as she was shrieking so loudly. "You broke it, so come home and fix it immediately." I grabbed the phone off my colleague and replied, "Huh? How is it my fault?" She replied, "Duh. Because you wear 3 outfits in a day and I only wear 1, so you broke it, not me, so come and fix it." Yeah. I failed to see the logic in her argument. I just didn't know who she was anymore. Where had the lovely Ariel from the old days gone? Oh, how I longed to be single again. Then, when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. My workplace was celebrating its 10th anniversary, so my boss held a party and invited everyone and their families. Oh no. The last thing I needed was my controlling wife embarrassing me. But Ariel checked my emails and found out about the party. She immediately repeated her rule. "Dinner is not allowed outside unless you take me with you." I forced a smile and acted excited to have her joining me. Hope nothing happens, though. We'd been at the party all of 5 minutes, and I was politely smiling at my female colleague, when Ariel turned red with anger, then spilled her wine over this woman's dress, said, "Oops," then walked off. I passed my colleague some napkins and apologized. Why was Ariel so childish? I didn't want to lose my job because of her jealous rages. Then I found her talking to my boss. She was actually shouting at him for making me work overtime too often. What? My boss was fuming. Now I was sure I would end up being fired. But thank God, through some miracle and a lot of groveling to my boss, I didn't lose my job. I was feeling so down about it all. So on one of my lunch breaks, I called my friend Matthew. I've known him for years. In fact, back in our school days, he had a huge crush on Ariel, and we both tried to win her heart. Anyway, that's in the past. I needed to vent, so I said to him, "Back at school, you and I both frantically chased Ariel. We even fought for her. Back then I thought I'd won, but now I think you're the one who had the lucky escape." Matthew replied, "Do you know why your married life is so stuffy? It's because she loves you too much. If you need more freedom, it's so easy. You just need to make your wife love you less. Don't worry, I'm here to help." At this point, I was pretty much willing to try anything. Besides, he was my friend, so he had my back, right? So the plan was to find Ariel a demanding job in another town. Then I'd only have to see her on weekends. So I asked my old friend to let Ariel work as a newscaster on his about-to-be-bankrupt radio station. Ariel was so excited when she got the job offer. She begged me to quit my job and to go with her, but I disagreed. I made excuses that my job was too good to quit and encouraged her that it was a good opportunity for her and that I would visit her on weekends. After that, the life I always longed for arrived. It was so blissful coming home from work and not having her nag me. I could put my feet on the couch, fall asleep whenever I wanted, and go out for dinner with my colleagues without having to take her along with me. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. Yes, it wasn't long before I found myself pining for her like a puppy. I even slept clutching one of her sweaters. Then it suddenly all made sense. Ariel had only acted that way because she was bored and lonely stuck at home all day. She longed to have me to talk to, and yet all I did was make fun of her. Ugh, I was a terrible husband. I'd been a foolish idiot, and I wanted my wife back, so, without delay, I bought the biggest bunch of flowers I could find and drove to Ariel's place in the other city. But when I pulled up outside, I saw her standing outside talking to someone. It was Matthew. That sneaky, conniving snake. Then I saw him take her hand. I stormed up to him and punched him in the face. Ariel panicked. "Alex, are you crazy? What the hell are you doing?" Then she checked Matthew's bleeding nose. I was furious, so I blurted out, "He's a liar. He told me to send you away just so he could worm his way into your life." She looked at me in surprise and stammered, "What? You sent me away? I earned this job and I chose this life." "No," I shook my head. "I set it all up. I'm sorry, I'm a fool." I was about to hug Ariel, but she pushed me away and said, "Are you bored with me? Why don't you... You're a coward." After that, Ariel ran into her house and locked the door. I begged her to hear me out, but she ignored me. I had no choice to drive home sad and alone. I went back to her house each day and tried apologizing, but she never answered the door. Each day I left her a gift on her doorstep, such as chocolate cake, penguin plushie as they're her favorite animal, and a picture of us together. She took the gifts, but she still wouldn't answer the door. But then one night when I was waiting in front of her house, I saw her running towards me. Could it be that she'd forgiven me and was coming to embrace me? Nah. A bandit was chasing after her and was trying to grab her handbag. I rushed forward and tackled this bandit to the ground. She was so relieved I was there to save the day, and she flung her arms around me. After that, she forgave me and moved back home. I definitely learned my lesson now. I should always appreciate the happiness I have, instead of taking it for granted. But I guess I will still have to live on the edge for the rest of my life. Afraid that someday Ariel will find out the big secret I'm keeping. Yeah, I'm the one who hired that bandit. Surprise! Those secrets will have to come to me to the grave. Or Ariel will bury me 6 feet under by herself. I don't know anymore. Wish me luck, guys.
Wow, the International Ballet Contest is being held in New York this year! Oh my god, that must be spectacular! But... oh, how different my life was 5 years ago. I just won the City Ballet Contest, and Dad wouldn't stop grinning with pride. To celebrate, he was driving to get us ice cream. And suddenly, I don't remember much about that day after that. But I lost him. As for me, I survived, but I was left with life-changing injuries. Since then, ballet was no longer a part of my life. And over there is Aunt Robin and my cousin Nancy. They're super excited about the competition. I swear, Nancy has tried on 15 dresses already. Both my aunt and my mum, when she was alive, were gifted ballerinas. So, naturally, Nancy also inherited the ballet genes. She's now a student of the New York City Ballet. This is something I've always wished for, but now can only dream about. Suddenly, a slamming door and shouting startled me. Joyce, open the door! It's me, Dylan! I opened the door and stared wide-eyed at... Huh? Dylan, my half-brother. The last time I saw him was 5 years ago, when my stepmother took him away. What's he doing here? Before I'd had time to react or invite him inside, he rushed over to me. Sis, you have to save me. I'm gonna have to stay here, okay? What? Absolutely not. Do you have any idea whose house this is? So, it turns out his mom is a gambling addict. So she was in debt and on the run from thugs. Poor Dylan didn't have anyone else to turn to. I managed to persuade my aunt to let Dylan stay with us, although she was adamant that this was only temporary until his mom was found. Being a typical kid hitting their puberty phase, Dylan was not the easiest person to live with. And guess who had to cover for him each time? Yep, me. Last week, he broke the whole stack of dishes. Yesterday, he stuck chewing gum in Nancy's hair. And today, he left his skateboard in the middle of the living room and caused Aunt Robin to fly across the room and land flat on her face. Ouch! Dylan, you have to be more careful. I'll be leaving for college soon, so I won't be here to cover for you. He'll kick you out if you're still like this. Huh? College? Do you mean boring business administration? I thought you liked ballet, don't you? No, that was just the past. Now I don't like it. At all. I don't believe you. Is it just because you're sitting on a wheelchair? Who says being in a wheelchair means you can't continue pursuing your passion for ballet? This left me dumbfounded. His words had awakened something in me, but the reality is not that simple. So I sadly replied, "It's not just that. I don't have any money either. I tried to apply for some part-time jobs, but they don't accept people with disabilities." Sensing my unhappiness at talking about this, Dylan immediately changed the topic. "Okay, let's just forget about those dumb things. Tomorrow, I'm gonna take you shopping." Oh, it's been a long time since I visited the mall. Dylan kept asking me if I like this, like that, but we don't have enough money. Ugh, why doesn't Aunt Robin give us pocket money? Dylan looked so cute at that moment, so I just sat there and laughed, while he frowned and pouted. Then, Dylan suddenly told me to stay still. When he closed his eyes and fumbled around towards two people who looked kinda rich, and told them, "Please help us. We have nothing left to eat this week. Please." Oh my God, what was my brother playing at? I froze and couldn't do anything besides look down at the floor. The woman took out the money and was about to hand it to him, but the guy swiped her hand, causing the bill to fall to the ground. Dylan quickly picked it up. Oh my. The man immediately grabbed his wrist. Busted! He threatened to take us to the cops and even asked me to stand up, as he thought I was also pretending. Luckily, the woman said they were in a rush, so they wouldn't make it complicated, so finally they left us alone. We came home, but our hearts were still pumping hard, and I could see Dylan's legs were trembling. Then we went inside to see that my aunt had guests. I gawped when I saw who they were. The rich people from the mall! The four of us goggle-eyed at each other in shock. Turns out that woman, Bernie, was my aunt's friend, and the man with her was her son, Philip. They're both famous ballet dancers. Talk about awkward atmosphere! But Nancy seemed oblivious to the tension, as she was too busy fluttering her eyelashes at Philip and twirling her hair around her finger. But the strange thing was, even with my lowered gaze, I could still see Philip looking at me. Then he suddenly asked me, "How long have you been like this? I mean, no offense. I'm just curious." So, Aunt Robin started telling them about my life and my condition. Hearing that, Bernie got emotional. She looked at me for a second and asked, "Sweetie, how are things going for you? Are you still doing ballet?" No. She's interested in business now. She'll enroll this fall." Bernie paused for a while, then smiling said, "Oh, that's great. I'm happy that you found yourself something you love." I don't know why I felt so sad, so I excused myself to leave the table. Dylan followed me and handed me an envelope. I looked inside and it was full of money. "I only have this much, but please take it and go take ballet classes again." My heart stopped. How could he afford it? But then he didn't give me time to say anything when he took the money back, saying, "Oh, or just let me enroll you." And surprisingly, he really did. Dylan found a center that had scholarships for students with disabilities. Since then, I went back to the ballet. It was like I was alive again. Every day I was eager to wake up to follow my passion. And I was also practicing for the International Ballet Contest in New York. One time after practice, I saw someone over by the door, watching me. Philip. I didn't know why, but as soon as I spotted him, my heart fluttered. He walked over to me, and we started talking. Turns out, he teaches at this center. After that, he always spent time helping me during practice, and we seemed to be a good pair. But good things didn't last long. That day I was practicing with Philip when a voice called out, "Joyce, why are you here?" I turned around startled to see a glaring Nancy standing at the door of the practice room. It turns out that Nancy came to meet and greet with her students in our center and accidentally spotted Philip helping me. Maybe she was upset because we looked quite close? After that, we met in the bathroom. Then Nancy asked me, "I know you don't have $1 to your name, so who gave you money for this?" "Oh, it was Dylan." "Stop telling lies. He's just some dumb kid. I hardly imagine he has a spare $1,500 to pay for 6 months of lessons." "You asked Phil to pay for you, right?" "Stop acting weak to get other sympathy. That doesn't sound like something my sweet cousin would normally do, does it?" "So, did Dylan lie to me? This course isn't a scholarship for people with disabilities? No way!" I immediately packed my stuff to go home and to speak to Dylan about this. But on my way out, I bumped into Philip. So I asked him if it's true there's no such scholarship at this center. But he just sighed and led me to a quiet place to talk. And you know what? He admitted that it's him who actually had planned out everything with Dylan, and even said that he liked me and wanted to help me. I was shocked, but deep down, I was also kinda happy hearing that, as I did like him. But I felt like I was a burden, and Nancy also liked him, so I rejected him. Nancy wasn't the same after that. Whenever our eyes met each other, she tutted, then looked away. Then one time, I found my ballet shoes soaked in coffee. And another time there was even a note in my bag saying, "Don't chase after Philip, 'cause you can't run, LOL. It had to be my lovely cousin who did these things, right? I felt upset a bit at first, but I didn't have time for her games. I had a competition to practice for. Then, the day before the performance, I arrived home to overhear Aunt Robin in the living room FaceTiming Bernie.
"Hey, you should send more money. Joyce is partaking in a ballet competition this time, so it's rather costly."
"Really? But you told me she wasn't interested in ballet anymore. In any case, why didn't she take the ballet scholarship for the New York City Ballet?"
"Stop going off topic. Remember, you were the culprit to the death of my brother-in-law and the legs of my niece. So, you have to take the blame for this whole life. And now you can't even see fit to spare what is loose change for you to fund her dream?"
What? What were they talking about? I was so shocked that I dropped my grocery bag on the floor. Aunt Robin turned around and saw me. Realizing I'd overheard everything, she beckoned me into the room and told me the whole tragic story. It turns out that the person who caused the accident was none other than Bernie. She'd crossed the road without looking, which caused my dad to steer to avoid her and crash into a tree. After that, she ran away, as she was so panicked and feared that it would affect her reputation. Through her friendship with Aunt Robin, she knew about my situation and still had been sending monthly money to compensate for me. What about the scholarship Miss Bernie was talking about?
Well, you can't attend that school anyway, so it's better to let Nancy take it, isn't it?"
What? I can't believe my aunt would do that! She knows how much I love ballet! I've always thought Aunt Robin was so good to give me a home, when in reality, she was using me, so Bernie would invest in Nancy's ballet career. The word disappointment cannot fully describe my feelings at that moment. The hurt was almost unbearable. I woke up feeling dreadful, but I forced myself to get ready and headed to the competition. It was bustling there, just like me inside. I didn't bother to watch the other performances until Nancy's. She was very graceful, and the judges said she did very well. However, I felt like it was missing something. And now,
It was my turn. I looked down to the crowd and saw there was Bernie, Dylan, and Philip. They all smiled and clapped their hands when the MC called my name. I took a deep breath and was about to go out on the stage when, passing me, Nancy leaned over and whispered, "Philip doesn't really care about you. He just feels guilty about what his mom did. Don't go embarrass him by messing up." Suddenly, I felt like I couldn't move. I forgot all the movements and the world was spinning around. But a familiar voice woke me up. "Joyce, you're better than this. We're all here for you, so don't be scared. You're the light. Don't let the dark bother you. Let's shine and show them what you have." I was so touched, and it worked. I regained my spirit and just went with the flow. Like a swan that had been restrained for so long, I just did what I wanted to do. I didn't care about anything, anyone. This moment, I'll live for myself. And maybe the judges felt that too. I burst with happiness to hear that. "Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this contest is Joyce Baker." Everyone came to congratulate me, including Bernie. She tried to fight back tears as she apologized for everything. The past is the past, and I know what happened was a terrible accident. It's something she will always have to live with, and that seems penance enough. So I hugged her and told her it was okay, because what matters was that I could dance again, and it felt fantastic. So what's next? Well, I didn't go to business school. Instead, I'm continuing with my ballet. I'm also undergoing treatment for my condition, and I hope that one day I will be able to be up there on stage, performing with Philip. Speaking of Philip, thanks to his help, Dylan and I moved into our own house. And Dylan has just got a scholarship into a prestigious high school, which he seems to be enjoying. Oh, and one more thing. Philip and I are now officially dating. And this is it. The happy ending of my fairy tale. Guys, keep chasing your dream, despite hardship, because all good things are waiting for you at the end of the tunnel.